Welcome to Remember 64, where this week we get ready to crumble! Welcome to the show, everyone. Whether this is your first time to Remember 64 or you are a returning listener or viewer, if you're looking at the YouTube version of this, my name is David Petrangelo, and there is no way I'm ready to crumble. I'm not some old, crusty play-doh sentient being. I'm fresh, I'm squishy, I'm flabby, and I can be easily molded. That's my body type.
And I'm Jiggy Lookback. Clay fighter! I'm gonna punch, I'm gonna kick, and then I'm gonna do some tricks. Huh! Clay fighter, let's go! Yeah!
Pumped up. Oh my god. This week I'm surrounded by YouTube creators because Jiggy, you and I are now also joined by a third person on this episode. Deadforge, how are you, sir?
How's it going, guys? Let's get sculpting.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
Yes, if anyone
happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So great that we can have the three of us together. You know, there's when this episode is releasing, if you're not hearing it when it first comes out, we are picking this for a particular reason. I'll get to that in just a second. But if you haven't guessed yet, we are talking Clay Fighter 63 1/3 and Sculptor's Cut, which is a very rare game, but we were able to at least get some time with it through emulating. So we'll talk about both of those games this week. And one of the reasons why we picked this is because there are two holiday winter characters in this. There is Sumo Santa and Bad Mr. Frosty, which face off against each other in these games. So we figured, you know what? There's not a whole lot of, there isn't like some Santa game or very themed Christmas or holiday season game on the N64. Why don't we just get two iconic characters that are kind of mean and look weird and just fight each other? Clay Fighter. Why not? Good excuse to play it. So
Absolutely.
Feels
like quintessential Christmas.
What was the one character? With the pumpkin head? Forget his name.
It's Ichabod Clay.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I played as that guy. I played as that character a decent amount. I thought the moves were like...
I did too, actually.
I don't know.
He was actually pretty fun. He was the first one I picked when I was playing it earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah, there we go. We'll get into characters. We're going to get into our time with it, before, now, all of that kind of stuff. One of the reasons, again, why we had Deadforge on is because you said you had a history with this game, so that's great. Always fun to sort of bring people on that had history with this back in the day as well. Before that, Jiggy, do you want to cue it up? We have a soundboard item for this as well. We have a history book soundboard item.
The history book?
Yeah, is it show up in the soundboard? It should.
Do you mean...
I'm learning.
We're heading back to October of 1997. There it is.
Yay!
That was great. That was great.
We are...
I knew it was there the whole time. Built up suspense.
So let's get into a little bit of the history and development of this game, or these games, I guess. There's not a ton to say about them. I think a lot of what the discussion is around these games in general, at least from my understanding, is that there's two different versions, and a lot of people don't really know why. It's sort of like this weird thing where they only came out less than a year from each other. What would be the reason for that? Why are they so expensive online if you want a copy of it? Like, stuff like that. But it was made, 63 1/3 and Sculptor's Cut, made by Interplay Studios. I think that name sort of rang a bell when I was looking up the development of this, but the logo really hit me when it popped up on the screen when I played it. I'm like, oh yeah, I know this. And that's because they've had their hands in a ton of games, like over 100 when I looked up the list.
One of the biggest 90s computer game developers.
Exactly. So Deadforge, before we hit record, you were mentioning some of the big titles and franchises they had their name in. What were some of the ones that sort of popped into your head that you knew about?
Yeah. Like, the Fallout series, Baldur's Gate. That's it. I can't.
But
I can't think of any others actually.
But those
there are others.
Those
are
are
just not
huge.
popping in.
Those are huge.
Yeah, but those are the biggest ones.
Those are the biggest ones, exactly. So now, of course, as we sit here currently in 2023, when we record this, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the biggest games of the year, one of the most highly rated, enjoyed, massive game. They made the first one. They also helped create the first couple of Fallout games, like before they were taken over and created the way that they are now by Bethesda and everything. Like this studio has a huge pedigree. There are some stinkers, and there's a decent amount of them as well. They also had their hands in the Carmageddon games, which at least the one in the 64 is very bad. I'm not going to beat around the bush about that. But I don't know, Jiggy, do you have any like history with any of these kinds of games, like even like early Fallouts or anything like that, or is it just like they're just another studio?
I'll tell you what I do have history with. So Interplay, Titus, kind of same thing because Titus bought him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very particular game on my Game Boy, and that was Titus the Fox.
Oh.
It was their mascot, and it was a little platformer, and I just remember you had to go collect keys and open doors, and it was cool. It was, I don't remember it being particularly good, but I don't remember it being particularly bad either. It was just one of those games that I had on my Game Boy. Still to this day, I was going to pull it out of the closet to show it on screen, but I opened my closet and was like, there's a lot of stuff in here, and I gave up.
Not worth it. It's okay. It's all right. We can show and tell.
I was like, I'll just talk about it.
I wouldn't say that I have like a lot of history with Interplay per se, but it hit me. They also did Wastelands. Like they were the developers behind Wasteland as well, which is probably one of the most impactful like post-apocalyptic anything ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it inspired Mad Max, Fallout, and pretty much the post-apocalyptic genre as a whole.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like they have their hands in a bunch of different types of games as well. I would say Fallout and Baldur's Gate maybe is there's similarities there, but
but they were also they were behind Earthworm Jim, right?
Yeah, which is why he pops up. I don't know which Earthworm Jim. I don't know if it's all of them.
Wait. Interplay.
He's in 63 and a third.
He's in. No, he's the one in Sculptor's Cut. Is he not? I believe he is.
He's in both.
He's in both. Okay, he's in both.
Yeah.
I played both, and now
Interplay
I got mixed up.
They were not a developer of Earthworm. They were one of the publishers.
Right? Yeah.
Whoa. Earthworm
one of the
Jim,
like 6.
Earthworm Jim comes as Interplay is looking to develop new TV and film projects based on their video game properties. November 18, 2021. That was like a while ago. What?
But still.
What's happening?
That's still. Wait, what?
Earthworm or Interplay currently owns the rights to Earthworm Jim, I think.
And that's one of the tricky reasons why we don't see Mr. Jim around anymore.
Because Interplay came back. They're like a new studio once again. They were reformed because they have their hands in some boomer shooters and stuff like that. Some more old school first person shooters that are coming out recently.
Well, I do have plenty of history with Earthworm Jim. That's my boy right there.
Oh yeah, and we're definitely going to be playing that 64 game for sure at some point.
I'm so ready for it.
I'm so ready for a game that's probably not good, or at least so I hear. Okay, so 63 and a third was also, interestingly enough, supposed to also come out for PlayStation, which I didn't realize. I just associated this with the Nintendo console. It was supposed to be called Clay Fighter Extreme, and it was supposed to come out at the same time, but it was not ready, so they just completely canceled it. It wasn't delayed. It wasn't, pushed back or any of that. It was just, we're not doing it. We made it for the 64. It's not going to be ready for PlayStation. Let's just say, screw it. We're not going to make it. So that's a little unfortunate. I think, having something that's a bit of a parody, which is exactly the point of this game, or these games.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a parody of fighters. We can talk about more in details as to if that's successful or not in a little bit. But
I also heard that it was really hard for them to make the 3D backgrounds look the way they wanted to on the PlayStation for whatever reason. And there were multiple, they were basically weighing the pros and cons of each version. And they decided the Nintendo 64 was more geared toward what they wanted to make with this game. So they had their team focus on that. And they had 2 teams, right? They had their main team focus on the 64 version, and then they had the minor team focus on the PlayStation version, and then kind of just
That that actually makes a lot of sense though, given the 3D tech for the 64 and the PS1. The original PlayStation is not as well known for the 3D tech as the 64 is, because the 64 a lot of times had better implementation of that. It was like, I don't know if you guys ever played Shadow Man, but it was really well known as a PlayStation game, but it also came out on the 64.
Yeah.
And the 64 is like the definitive version of it until the obvious remasters recently.
Gotcha.
Better than the
PlayStation 1
Dreamcast?
version. I don't know, that's debated, I guess, but I never played that one. Some people actually really, really like that one. So, but it seemed like 64 was the most loved one. It even had some cut stuff that was not in the other versions of the game, but it also just played better than the PS1 version, which was like slower, more clunky. It wasn't as good looking either. It was a little bit more fuzzy and stuff. But that could have been. There obviously had to be multiple teams developing out of the same studio, which probably could have cut things thinner, and they just kind of had to prioritize one over the other.
Yeah, it really seems like with the PlayStation, the big draw is the CDs, right? Just having that extra storage space. But other than that, just memory in general, I would say, because even the memory speed on the 64 is it's utter garbage. But everything else about the 64 was superior.
Yeah. Which I mean, that kind of is like, I say that about 3D tech, but we also got Spyro on the PS1, and we got Crash and stuff like that, which are obviously awesome in that regard as 3D platformers. But I think there was just something about when it came outside of the platformer area, the 64 really shined. I mean, if you go to like a GoldenEye and different games like that, just the way they were using it was a little bit more, a little bit better. They didn't have quite the graphical prowess that PS1 had, though.
And if you want to hear all the history on GoldenEye, definitely go check out the episode we did. That was an amazing episode. And Dave, what did you want to share about the GoldenEye episode? What was it? Was it your most shared episode ever?
It was. So as of 2023, it is the most shared episode that the show has had from day one, honestly. So it's the one that's, I get somehow, the whole like Spotify Wrapped thing that happened because I upload the show through that service. It calculates it somehow. I don't know. And it says that the GoldenEye episode was the most shared one that the show had this year, but also last year.
If it got a boost from the re-release of GoldenEye.
It was all around that time. Like it was just, I think, like a month after or something when it released. Yeah. We had a great guest.
It's a great episode.
It's just GoldenEye, like it's just GoldenEye.
I'm in it.
So, Jiggy's in it. So,
speaking of GoldenEye, that's a little off topic, but have you seen Agent 64?
I have that on my wish list. That is something that that is on my queue. So
looks very good.
Yeah, it's like a modern, not modern version, but modern-ish take on what GoldenEye and Perfect Dark was, but with sort of like some newer ideas and stuff. So it looks pretty cool. I mean, that's someone that
it's like if you kind of like it was more modern like Perfect Dark, but trying to be more GoldenEye.
Yeah, it's still trying to be like a mid to late 90s type of game. It just looks a little flashier, a little cleaner or something, but still kind of blocky. It still kind of looks like it feels the same way and stuff.
Here's a good opportunity. We're talking about first-person shooters for a second.
Yeah.
Kind of like to go back to Interplay for a quick minute. They also they're not done with making bad games. They just released Kingpin Remastered, and apparently it's pretty bad.
Nice.
Haven't even heard of it. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, apparently to put it into perspective, the original was made by the people who made Redneck Rampage, which also wasn't well known as a good game. So
I remember playing the demo of that over and over again at a buddy's place. It is a weird effing game.
I mean, both of them seem to be like those. They're kind of like classic first-person shooters, but they were never regarded as good.
Yeah. I don't think it. I don't remember.
Even by the fans.
Yeah, even by people who like it. Yeah. So 63 and a third, Sculptor's Cut. They're kind of the same game. We'll talk about a little bit of the differences. But before we do that, I want to make sure that I don't know, Deadforge, if you saw it, or Jiggy, if you did if you played it or not, but I have the intro to Sculptor's Cut, because one of the differences that
I have watched it. It's amazing.
It's great. So one of the differences that Sculptor's Cut has over 63 and a third is that they created like this musical intro and sort of gave you an idea of what the story is, I guess. So I'm gonna open that up. It should work. Let me just grab it here. Hang on.
I'm
Turn the sound on. If you guys can't hear it, let me know, but I'm going to hit play, and it should work.
A meteor crash one fateful day turned mud creatures into clay with heroes bent on doing right and twisted bows up for the fight. Clay fighter!
1-to-1 they set the stage.
Clay fighter!
Pounding clay is all the rage.
That may have been all to the tale, but Dr. Kiln planned to prevail and re-release the meteor's goo and sent more fighters on the loose. Clay fighter!
They punch and kick and they do tricks.
Clay fighter!
And some are made as hard as bricks.
Soul kill grins from ear to ear, clay moto I'll just quakes in fear, but none of our heroes have their way and force the evil goons to pay. Clay fighter! Blow by blow, no turning back. Clay fighter! Living mud on the attack, but who will win the final match?
What a great segue from that intro into the main menu.
Yeah,
that's awesome to me.
So basically, Mr. Frosty just smokes the screen and cracks it open. It looks like kind of a, it's obviously just a goofy. I'm playing the game now. We are sitting here and watching. Just a heads up, you're gonna watch me get my ass kicked multiple times because when I first started playing this game, I sucked. I was terrible. So, anyways, that's what we're watching.
So I just got done playing 63 1/3, not that long ago, and so the Sculptor's cut looks graphically a little bit better.
I think it's a little cleaner. Yeah, it's a little
more.
cleaner.
Yeah, it also has a little bit more of a cartoony flair to it, and the camera angles are different. That's interesting.
Just got my ass kicked. See, boom, that was quick. I hit the guy like once. I'm so bad at this game.
It also looks like it has more characters too.
It does. There's a couple more characters. So, so Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut was released as a Blockbuster video rental exclusive only in North America on May 15th of 98. So
yes,
this is
America.
Merca. This is Merca. Merca. This is as the Canadian says that, like I should be.
America. Right, you're North American.
Whatever.
Right.
We had Blockbuster. I would be surprised if more than 5 copies were in Canada at the time. So this came out less than a year after, and because of this, this is similar to the Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine game that I've also covered on the show. It wasn't exclusive to Blockbuster, but this was. So if you look up what you would pay if you wanted a copy of this game right now.
It's up there.
Yeah, I went on price charting, which is a sort of pulls prices from eBay and other sort of places and sort of gives you an average, gives you a bar of how the value, quote unquote, has gone up or down on particular games. They have comics, they have VHS and games and stuff like that. Anyways, price charting has a low price for just the cartridge at $1,100.
Nice.
That is stupid.
Yeah.
Straight up stupid. Okay. Jiggy,
I get that it's rare, but it's also a game that's widely considered terrible.
Not great. So exactly, right? So
no one's going to buy it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Jiggy, you have the document in front of you. I don't know if you're looking at this part of it or not, but if you're not, I have a question and I wanted to quiz you on this. If the cartridge alone is $1,100, what do you guys think is the complete, if the box, the manual, and the game together? What do you think that price?
Oh, complete in box? Are we talking unopened or opened?
Opened. Yeah. Wild guess
Open.
What it
somewhere
might be.
Somewhere in the ballpark of $4,000.
Okay. Dead Forge?
I'm going to go 5.
5? You guys are both under, as of according to price charting right now, $5,200.
Under.
Yeah, $5,200 right now. So that's and that's an average.
Yeah, you were closer.
Yeah. So Dead Forge wins. You get to be the next contestant on The Price is Right. Yeah, you get to spin the wheel on The Price is Right. You're in the Showcase Showdown. So you don't want a copy of this game because The Price is Right can't even pay for it. So so much for that.
I mean, sorry, I got a copy of the other one. It's okay.
Right. You have 63 1/3.
I would show it, but it's over here somewhere, and I can't.
Why it's this expensive is really just the reason because it's rare. Should it be? I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it's
what is the regular game go for? I didn't really look at the.
It's a normal you know, it's a little bit more than average, I would say. I think just because
Yeah.
Sculptor's cut is also inflated. But I don't have it
Yeah,
written
well,
down.
yeah.
But it's not a few $100s just for the cartridge or something crazy like that, right? So, okay, so some of the differences, why they made these two games, why they made an exclusive, whatever, I don't know, business decisions, who knows. But the difference is, Sculptor's Cut got rid of the Killer Instinct combo system, like that sort of control scheme. That's not in there anymore. And there's no combo breakers as well, which is a little bit strange, but I guess if you lose one system, you kind of have to lose the other. New menus, okay,
It is very strange as an exclusive. It's
so weird. And then 4 new characters. There are new characters in this. That includes, I think the clown character and the Ichabod?
The 3 kids that stack on each other.
Yeah,
no,
the one-
Ichabod's in
so-
norm one, I think.
It
Oh,
it
yeah.
looks like it plays more like a crappy Street Fighter in Sculptor's Cut versus the original, where the original plays very much like a crappy Killer Instinct. So
it's just crappy. It's just
yeah. I mean, it,
At the end of the day.
Okay, so I'll give it this: it is crappy. It looks bad even for the time, but it does have character. Okay.
it's full of
It
character.
is interesting and unique, and if it would have had a longer development time, bigger budget, and wasn't like in one of the roughest periods of the studio's life, then it might have been good.
Yeah. So, yeah, other differences are new voices. That's fine. Whatever. The intro sequence, like we talked
Okay.
about. There's small things like the story mode is kind of in it. I guess that's because they made the intro. They had to make a story mode. I don't know.
Well, in the first in 63 and a third, you don't know what the story is. There is no story. It's just fight and go. And then at the end, they give you like
Yeah.
some little synopsis of the characters if you beat it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
But then
right,
Sculptor's
right.
Cut actually gave you a plot, and they're like, "This is the plot."
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it was
well, that's an
kinda,
improvement.
that was kind of cool. It made
Yeah.
it at least have a little bit of a story.
Well, for $5,200, you can have a story, a box, and a manual. So that's nice.
And an inferior combat system.
And
So
inferior combat,
it's kind of
yeah.
a win-win-win.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Okay, so that's kind of the gist of the way things are here. I think you know, let's talk a little bit about let's talk a lot about the game itself, because what?
On the gameplay that's playing, it was the taffy guy.
Yes.
And he beat you or whatever, and he's like, "This candy can do." It's like so stupid.
It's so dumb.
I love it.
It's so dumb. The game itself is it's just I think
Hey, there's my boy.
there he is. There's Mr. Ichabod Clay or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you guys first. Dead Forge, I'll go to you first. Like, you had the more of a history with this game with 63 and a third. What do you remember about it before you picked it back up, and then what did you kind of see afterwards once you played it again?
So when I played it was way after its initial release. I mean, it came out before I was born, so.
Gotcha.
But I played it, so my younger brother and sister both got Nintendo 64s at one point. I hadn't had one for a while at this point, and they got this game, GoldenEye, a bunch of other games, and I was like, as a big, I'm a huge Mortal Kombat fan, love fighting games, and I was like, I want to play that. That's a fighting game. That looks cool,
Yeah.
and it was just unique. Clay Fighter 63 and a third, it just stands out. And I played it, and I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. And I genuinely had a good time with it, oddly enough. It kind of, it was a very, like, Killer Instinct-like game. And I had a good time. Like, me and my siblings played it and stuff. And it's not, we didn't play it, like, a lot, but we played it here and there. And, and it kind of, like, was one of those games that kind of stuck with me because of its characters and its art style and its clay and, it's unique and different. But it was about the only thing, because, it didn't have a story, really. It didn't have much more than just fighting. It didn't, had very little, if any, voice acting, right? And
Really, just when they like hit each other, or when the
Yeah,
enemy
that's about
comes
it,
in,
yeah.
he says something.
and it
quick.
doesn't really have.
I
It
would
doesn't really
say
have
the-
intros per se.
The characters don't shut up.
I was
They're
going to
always
say
talking
that. Yeah,
while you're fighting.
actually, we have a soundboard for that. Do you want to? Which one is it here?
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It
a
is.
soundboard.
Is it under girly combo? Maybe it's under that one.
Here we go.
It is.
Little girly combo.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So-
Well, they have that kind of stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And I guess they
There's
kind of
no
get that from.
significant dialogue.
No. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting. And then going back and playing it, I played it earlier today, and I mean, it still has that character, but I can definitely now see how poorly it aged, right?
Yeah.
And not playing it emulation, I played it on a Nintendo 64, and emulation is probably the better way to go, you know. But I do like the combo system's genuinely pretty good. Like it's pretty decent, like right up there with Killer Instinct or something. Like it's pretty fun to do combos, and the moves are cool, but it doesn't. It feels a lot clunkier than your average fighting game, which is not something that you want in a fighting game. And it's pretty. I don't think it runs very well either.
It's pretty clunky. Like it is like
Yeah,
it
very
does. It
clunky.
honestly does feel like there's pieces of clay moving, like they're a little sticky.
Yeah.
You know, they stick to the
Yeah.
ground a little bit too much. Like I doubt that's intentional, but
Probably not, but maybe. Who knows?
so it's interesting because I played mostly Sculptor's Cut just because it's the one that I had loaded up for the most part, and whatever. So I
Right,
played
right.
that. It's interesting that you say that for 63 and a third. Like, as much as the combo system and the fighting is probably better there because it has
Yeah.
that Killer Instinct combo system, but you still felt like it was kind of chunky a bit.
Yeah.
Sculptor's Cut is very chunky. It's so weird because the changes that they made, they're like, oh, we made a Killer Instinct-like game. Let's take that away and
Yeah.
make a Street Fighter-like game so we don't have the
Yeah.
same type of combos and stuff. And Street Fighter's just faster, smoother, snappier. So Sculptor's Cut...
Well, and also the camera is different. So like in the Sculptor's Cut, like you're showing right now, like it's that more zoomed out Street Fighter look, whereas in 63 and a third is a little bit more zoomed in, kind of
tighter.
closer like Killer Instinct, where
Yeah.
you don't see as much of the arena, and it's you know, I mean, it also even is like semi 3D at times because it'll rotate like when you're fighting, and it'll
Yes.
kind of move like this, and you'll get different angles of stuff.
Yeah, kind of like some of the rooms kind of have some corners you go
Yeah.
around or whatever. Yeah,
Some of
Yeah.
the rooms, the places have like transitional things, right? Where you like
Yeah.
hit the enemy, they go flying through the wall, they go flying through the doorway. And I actually, normally I would love those, but in this game I dislike those.
Oh, how come?
Because they were like you would hit it, you'd bounce into the other room, it would like stop the gameplay for a second to do that,
Yeah.
and then you'd be on the other side. You could accidentally hit them back and keep them in this cycle of going through the doorway. This happened to me. This legitimately happened to me in the Laffy Taffy guy, whatever he is.
Yeah.
In that like candy factory, in that room, I was fighting the clown guy and I like punched him and he went through the door and fell. And then I was on the other side. I punched him again. He went through the door and fell. I did it like 3 times in a row. And I was like, I stopped fighting and backed away so I could get out of that corner so I would be able to continue the fight.
Well,
it just took
It
forever.
looks like the Sculptor's Cut has some of that, a little bit of that 3D camera, because it looks like even in this arena,
does.
like you're kind of going around it.
Yeah,
Even though it's still trying to stay 2-dimensional, it kind of goes like that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less so than the original, but it's still pretty similar.
It's still there. You're still technically fighting on a 2D plane, but the camera kind of just like swerves
Yeah.
in a circle is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
They still have the transition things. And part of the problem, Jiggy, with like the transition stuff, like in other fighting games, it's like, okay, that's cool because it does extra damage, or now you're in a new area and you can do new things. But it doesn't really do anything in this. And the problem is too, if you knock someone through a door, for example, or through a wall or something like that, and you keep knocking them back and forth like you said you were doing, you're going to do like no damage. It's not a significant
sucks.
move. It
sucked.
It actually kind of sucks. Yeah. It's cool to see
I had to
something different,
stop.
but you literally had to stop doing it.
I had to stop doing it because I was getting nowhere, and I was like, I want to beat this. It was awful.
It was awful. Okay, tell us why this was awful. I want to hear what your experience was. It sounds like it was awful.
Okay. So the only history I have with this, my cousins had this game growing up,
Okay.
and I went over to their house and we played it like once or twice.
Okay.
Okay. And I just need to get this out here. So Blob, the guy that was just on the
green
screen.
guy, yeah, the green blob.
Blob, I played as Blob because I thought it was Snot, Earthworm Jim's little buddy. And I found out it was not, like, all my life, I've thought that's Snot. And I was like, oh yeah, Clay Fighter has Snot and Earthworm Jim. Like, that's awesome. And I would always play as Blob, or Snot, as I thought. And then going back to it, realizing it's not Snot and it's an original character named Blob, my world was devastated. I instantly was like, I'm not going to have a good time playing this game. I was just so upset. And then if you play Sculptor's Cut, fun fact, so characters that are not unlockables in the first game, some are unlockables in Sculptor's Cut. So like starting out, I didn't have Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
I actually entered a cheat code to get Earthworm Jim, but I was like annoyed that I had to do that.
Because he's default in the original.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted him. I remembered him being default. I remembered that because my cousin said 63 and a third, but I was playing Sculptor's Cut this time around. But my experience, I remember playing it, and I'm just thinking, like, from a fighting game perspective, like it wasn't bad, but it was very mediocre. I felt like the combo meter filled really fast.
It does.
And I was just doing a lot of combos, but I did our special moves. But actually, I should rephrase that. I felt like I was getting hit with a lot of special moves. And like, you're fighting Boogerman right now. He was a terrible culprit because he would do this farting spin move where he'd go in the air. And I, like, every time I'm like, just trying to not get chained with attacks like 40 times in a row. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you guys, but like entering the combos and like trying to figure out what does the special move was hard for me.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I'd be like, normally
100%.
You could do like, oh, you go left, right, joystick, A, B, or something, like some combination that you can kind of figure out naturally. There was none of that. I mean, I was like, I would be button mashing and I'd be like, okay, I think it's working. I don't know. And then it'd be hit or miss. But that was one thing.
Yeah,
I was just,
it seemed pretty inconsistent. Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt really sluggish. What was cool though to me, and this is just because I don't play a lot of fighting games on the 64.
We will.
Obviously, Smash Bros. Yeah, right. Obviously, Smash Bros. But like this really is the only other fighting game that I don't even know what else is on there besides like 3D ones. I mean, like 2D fighters like this in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
Like fighting games. I realized that the 64 controllers
Killer
laid
Instinct
out
in Mortal Kombat probably.
Oh yeah, Killer Instinct. I forgot about that
Mortal Kombat,
one.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've played Mortal Kombat on the 64. I played it on other things, but not the 64.
Yeah. Play the gold edition or whatever it is,
yeah,
trilogy or whatever. Don't play
Mortal Kombat.
4 is not very
gold,
good.
Yeah.
4 is not good.
Okay.
Yeah, gold is better than 4.
Yeah.
Looking at the controller, like it's this realization I had because I was thinking about the controller and just how many different ways you can hold it and use it, and the way they design the controller. And I'm like, this is perfect for fighting games. I can use the D-pad. I hold. Yeah. It's got 6-button layout.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You got B left up, A down right, and I was like, that's so cool. I never realized that. And then you have an easy like R button press, which does like nothing. You just move backwards a little bit.
It's basically
that realization was super cool.
The sort of argument that like people liked the 6-button Genesis or Mega Drive controller over the 3-button because it was more versatile. It was better for fighting. It's basically
I was gonna say
it's kind of like that.
I just recently got a Sega Saturn and it has the 6 buttons. It looks like like an arcade like button layout.
Yeah,
and it's pretty perfect for that stuff because I have Virtua Fighter 2 on it and it's pretty fantastic.
Those are good fighting games. Those fighting games are fun. Yeah. At least for that era for sure.
Also, I didn't know there was a hand in the game.
Yeah, it's like is it in you can't play as it though, I don't think. Is it?
You can.
Oh, you can? Oh, okay.
Enter a cheat code.
Oh, okay. I didn't enter any cheats.
Though.
I should have played around with the cheats. I was going to, and I did not. I did in 63.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's a reference to
Adam's
hand from
Adam's
Family.
You get a big thumbs down.
Yeah, you get a big thumbs down when you lose. Yeah.
They say really stupid things when they beat you.
I had very little experience with this game. I don't know if I definitely played the Super Nintendo version, one of them. I don't know which one. Then I picked random character for the next time, and I got the same character. I was like, really? Come on, game.
It happened earlier too.
Yeah, it's just really.
I think you played Ichabod Clay quite a bit.
I did. It was the only one. So when I'll get to it in a sec, but Jiggy, when you were talking about like not being able to like pull off the combo stuff or whatever, it's the only one that even when I button mashed, I kind of had an idea of which one I was going to do. It's the only character I could do it with. And then Blob a little bit too, but which I think probably the video will show that I play as Blob a little bit as well. I think I recorded that. Anyways, I remember this series from the Super Nintendo because I spent more time in fighting games on the Super Nintendo than I did on the 64. Similar to you, Jig. I played a few on 64, but a lot of it was, if I was going to play multiplayer against someone, it was Mario Kart, it was Diddy Kong Racing, it was Mario Party, it was those types of things, right? And this game I knew it was about a 2D fighter, and the characters are kind of goofy and whatever. And I knew it was probably a parody, but like I was like, all right, I'll try it again and see how it goes here. Since we're doing the episode, I guess I'll put myself through it. I suck so bad at these games. I'm just so, and I think that sours my experience a bit because I do think they're not great games. I don't think, but I don't think they would be as bad if I was a little bit better.
I hear you. I also suck.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't doing good.
No, I tried to go through it at normal or whatever the middle difficulty is. And
you changed it to easy because I did the same thing.
100% had to change it to easy.
I wasn't really trying to beat like the ladder or whatever, but I was doing okay, but it feels like you're playing in slow motion.
Yeah, and that's the gist of the gist of the gameplay is just fight, do combos, whatever, move on to the next. That's fine, right? That's just the way it is. But yeah, it feels like,
which is fine, I mean, like that's
totally
kind of how
fine.
most fighting games are, right? But
exactly,
it's just not as engaging as others. It doesn't feel as empowering as others. It doesn't feel as fluid or impactful or anything really, or just stylish.
And I think because some of the combos, and because like your combo meter or your special meter does fill up a decent amount, it would be nice if when you pulled those off, or if you could pull them off, they felt more satisfying, because you can set off these 10 hit combo things with just one move, and then it takes off a tiny lick of health. It does almost nothing. A regular move usually does more. Like a 2-hit combo usually does more. And then after that, I'm just sort of jumping and trying to kick, jumping and trying to punch. Oh, low hit.
Yeah, I mean, that just comes down to like how much of a just like a kind of crappy clone that they were, I mean, because they were just trying to do the Killer Instinct meter that would usually do some cool stylish kind of move, or
and those look crazy, right? And
those were great, and those were cool. They were even impressive for then, even they were probably one of the first people to do something like that. Like Street Fighter didn't really do much of that. No. Mortal Kombat didn't really do that. That was kind of a very Killer Instinct thing. Now every fighting game does something like that. But Clay Fighter was like, hey, we're gonna do that, but then we're gonna make 2 games a year apart that are 2 different games, but the same game, but different fighting styles.
Weird.
But
yeah, I still don't understand it. Like going through it all and stuff, I still don't get. Like, is there just like ideas they had that they couldn't do? Like, I don't know. I don't really get what it was.
But then make it a Blockbuster exclusive that no one can get. So
even then, it would be hard to get because there'd be like 2 copies per store, maybe at the most.
And there wasn't very many available. And it's just a game that got a poor reception that it was, deserving of. So.
And what I find a little bit weird about it, like minus the gameplay, is that I understand that parodies, I mean, obviously like something like South Park's a perfect example. It obviously does something a little bit different now, but at least around this time, like late 90s, it was very much like raunchy comedy, sort of a little bit of a parody. Now it's much smarter than that, but South Park's a perfect example.
Yeah. You know what?
Simpsons,
Interplay
Family Guy
should just take some of their newfound money that they are using for these new first-person shooter games and just bring back Clay Fighters, like a full blown ground up remake of 63 and a third. There we go. Just from the ground up, baby, and just make it the best game ever.
Because you can get pretty good humor out of it, all that kind of stuff. It could be better.
I had to look it up.
They did that.
Yeah.
I had to look it up because you were talking about just the raunchy humor and the South Park and stuff. Like the voice actors they have for this game. They like Jim Cummings. Do you know who Jim Cummings is? He's like Winnie the Pooh. He's freaking Winnie the Pooh was one of the voice actors in this game. Oh my god. They had Tress MacNeille, who is Lady Liberty, and High Five is the name of the hand in Sculptor's Cut. Rob Paulson, that's who I think I was thinking of specifically.
Why is that familiar?
Yako Warner, Animaniacs, a lot. Pinky in the Brain.
Oh my god,
raunchy voices. That's I think of him.
What's funny is that they have Jim Cummings, which this would have probably been like one of the first times that he ever went outside of that kid-friendly area.
Right.
But he would later go on to completely destroy that, and he would be the voice of the Mask in Splatterhouse in 2010. And he says some of the most raunchy stuff that you've ever heard in your life.
I never played that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
it's a pretty good game. It's a pretty flawed game, but it's a really good one.
Dan Castellaneta, I think, is how you pronounce his name. Earthworm Jim's voice. Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing about this is like, I think if you don't really know what the game is or what they're going for, you might think maybe a little bit that it could be kid friendly. I guess in some ways it is. It's not like there's no like actual death. Yeah, they're all just clay characters and stuff. But the humor is very adult, right? And
I mean, I think I kind of get that vibe. You know, I mean, I don't think that like if you look at the cartridge for 63 and a third, I don't think it really comes off as kid friendly per se.
True. That's true.
Because it kind of looks more like you're about to play like a horror game or something. Because it's got the evil snowman on the front. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I could see.
I don't think it was a well marketed game either.
I don't know how you. That's the thing is I don't know how you. I guess you just market it as it's for adults, and the 64 was not really marketed that way in general, right? At least not consistently.
And to be fair,
the fun machine.
Most adults. I mean, I would say. I mean, obviously, plenty of adults had a Nintendo 64, but it was more common that most people at that point probably were not playing Nintendo as much as they would have been playing PlayStation, right?
There
probably were more people playing PlayStation,
and for games like
as
this,
it was the big console at the time, and 64 was actually not Nintendo 64 wasn't even that successful of a console as a whole.
As compared to its predecessor, it wasn't it wasn't that close, right? But
it is in my heart.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's a very well loved and remembered console, but it was actually somewhat of a failure for Nintendo as a console. But
part of
it's honestly got one of the bigger followings of their entire catalog of consoles.
Yeah, well, because they got so many huge bangers.
Clay Fighter characters have bios.
Yes, so that's what I wanted to look up.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to do that. Where is my link that I had there? Hang on. Where is it? So they had a full 12-page spread of Clay Fighter 63 and a third on Nintendo Power. Issue 97 had the bios, it had all the stages and showed you what the stages look like a sort of overhead view and stuff. It was on the cover. Like, they went all freaking out for this game. Was it a slow month for games or something? I don't know. But, like, this was the only marketing the game probably had, at least some of the biggest marketing it had. Getting on the cover of Nintendo Power is always a big deal, right? That's going to be something that's big, right? So,
I mean, to be fair, depending on the success of the prior Clay Fighter games on Super Nintendo,
that's true.
Well as probably being some of the more well-known on Nintendo, minus like the occasional Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. Mm-hmm. There wasn't that many fighting games like that on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So depending on the success of those old Clay Fighter games, I would say that there's a possibility that maybe the game was hyped up quite a bit, and maybe Nintendo had expectations that it didn't quite meet.
I mean, Nintendo Power at the end of the day is a lot of a just a sales tactic for their stuff. I mean, that's really what it ended up being.
Yeah.
Not a lot of like.
And didn't they give it a
bad reviews?
Super positive review? Like it was like a 90 out of 100 or something.
I'll look that up in a sec. Yeah, I'm gonna check because usually when it's the cover thing, they also have like a review. I'm pretty sure they do have a review. Anyways, part of the 12-page spread is some of the bios of these characters. Let's see which ones. You know what? We were talking about Ichabod. Let's talk about Ichabod Clay a little bit. What does it say? It says, once known as the Pumpkin Knight, okay, which comes from, I think, Ichabod has since received a court order preventing him from using the nickname. Now he's really miffed. All night long, he haunts the island of Claymodo, hoping to prove himself that he's still the scariest of them all. He is neither good or bad, just frightening. He has limited special moves, but they are strong. That's an interesting little sort of tidbit of info about him. That's not bad, you know.
I have a website, angelfire.com.
Yeah.
Shout out, I guess. I don't know. It has a different bio for him.
Oh, okay. Let's compare notes.
So it says, after being exiled from C2 Judgment Clay, Ichabod Clay went to Claymodo Isle. Despite his temporary happiness, trouble seemed to follow him everywhere. He learned that some of his friends and foes were also on the island. Feeling bitter and betrayed, he feels it's payback time.
Okay, that's completely different. That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know where this comes from, but it's hilarious.
Yeah. Bad Mr. Frosty is interesting because he's kind of like the title character, I would say. He's on the covers, all that kind of stuff. Sure. According to Nintendo Power, at least. Once known as a cold-hearted curmudgeon, Frosty has changed his tune. After a stint as a lounge singer in Vegas, he got a job flying for Clay Fighter Air. Now he's watching out for Sumo Santa, who wants control of the North Pole. As one of the good guys in Clay Fighter 63 and a third, Frosty's goal is to stop Kiln, who is the main bad guy, which they don't really explain, unless you read this issue. But how...
Or play Sculptor's Cut.
Or play Sculptor's Cut, which seems like 5 people did. But how can he approach the center of Kiln's volcanic lair without melting? So... I just learned something new because I didn't read this till now. He's a good guy, and he does not look like a good guy or act like a good guy.
His name is literally Bad.
It doesn't make any sense. It's so weird. It's so strange. I know that doesn't really make any sense. So, I think I'm not going to read any bios on these characters, but they're very insensitive. There's Kung Pao, and there's Hoongen. They're not appropriate.
Kung Pao is so bad.
Kung Pao is just terrible.
In disbelief when I saw it.
I
mean, it is funny. It's just so
It's so bad. It's so you'll know immediately that it is just not a good.
Can I read his bio though? Because on this website it's pretty funny.
If you want to, yeah.
It says Kung Pao used to be Sumo Santa's personal chef and bodyguard. The repulsive meals he prepared and his lack of kung fu knowledge eventually got him fired. He was constantly trying to improve his skills in both areas. Unfortunately, he always got the two professions, cooking and kung fu, confused.
That's good. I like that. That's actually
pretty good.
That is pretty good. Again, this is like, Jiggy, we've run into this with a couple games. I think Pilot Wings was one of them for sure, where like, these characters are just characters. And then all of a sudden, like, no, actually they have backgrounds. They have a story. They have a this.
Yeah.
You don't get any of that unless you have a manual, unless you look it up now, or you had Nintendo Power at the time. Does it change the game? No. Does it improve it? It gives you an extra laugh, I guess. But at the end of the day, the gameplay itself is just meh. It's just
okay. Look, the Matt Casamasina. I can't really say this dude's name. He said it perfectly, right?
Yes, let's do it.
He predicted that 63 and a third would remain a prominent title in the N64 library for years to come, because the game is so terrible it sets the standard for bad. I mean, that cuts deep, man. That's
as harsh as it gets. That's as harsh as it gets.
And it even shows right here. It like after that part, it says like contrarily, the editors of Nintendo Power reviewed the game both unreleased and in released forms in June and November of '97, much more positively than pretty much everybody else.
Yeah. So I pulled it up. I pulled up the Nintendo Power one. Same issue, 97. Let's see. I'm going to pick a couple sentences here. The characters keep up a patter of insults and jives, okay, during the fight using the voices from some very famous actors, like we've mentioned. And as for the fighting itself, the moves are smoothly animated and often hilarious to watch. In spite of the emphasis on comic animation, though, serious fighting fans will find plenty of moves and combos for the game to be interesting. They might look different, but I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah. And then they say, so the positives and negatives on Nintendo Power at the bottom of the review: great graphics and sense of humor, lots of fighting arenas, lots of special moves and hidden characters. The negative: breakthroughs are difficult to find and activate, which apparently to them would have been a positive if they were easier.
Yeah, they were pretty.
Gosh.
Oh God, no!
I got one thing to say to that.
Eat cow.
So it says here that someone by the name Sushi X defended the game in Electronic Gaming Monthly.
That's
arguing while it's unenjoyable in a traditional fighting game sense, it makes a great party game.
I don't know. Does it though?
Yeah.
He
says the game is funny but would eventually get old.
Yeah, it's funny.
And also apparently it says, like, I don't know what this is coming from, but it apparently sold around 60,000 copies prior to Christmas of '97.
Within a few months.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Christmas.
And so and Sculptor's Cut
Happy Holidays
only sold 20,000 copies.
You mean they gave away 20,000 copies? Yeah. They gave Blockbuster 20,000 copies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they gave away. Yeah, it was 20,000 copies to Blockbuster. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It sold none, I think.
Yeah, it sold 0. Gave away 20,000. Now you can buy 3 of them, and it'd be the same amount as what they're.
Yeah.
It costs the same amount of money.
So I also found that in 2009, Interplay said that they would be updating the Clay Fighter series. For the WiiWare and DSiWare services, and they were so
shut down.
Yeah, this is interesting though. It's another parody game, right? And it's not a fighting game.
Oh, okay.
It's not a platformer.
What?
It was originally going to be a Call of Duty parody called Call of Putty.
Oh my God!
Sounds amazing.
It was going to be. The development was going to be handled by Studio Black Games, and was headed by one of the original programmers of the original Clay Fighter game. But it looks like it was supposed to release in 2010 or 2011, and it got canceled.
Yeah. Probably for the best.
Because it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed.
Probably for the best.
Probably for the best.
So here's the thing. Ultimately, I don't think this game's that good. Either, it doesn't matter which one. I would say that the idea to have a parody, to have different characters, original characters, or at least ones that were originally based on the original games with a couple new ones. Having Earthworm Jim is fun. Yeah, sure, we kind of chose this as a quote-unquote holiday game because there's a bad Mr. Frosty and a fat Santa, or Sumo Santa. But ultimately, do you get any kind of like holiday winter feel? No, not really. One stage has snow and a castle, snow ice castle, and that's about it. And as much as I played more of Sculptor's Cut, at least the combo system and stuff in 63 1/3, I might have felt like cheap sometimes, but it did feel more fun when you pulled it off. But I definitely got my butt kicked most of the time when I played this game. So it's also very unforgiving, and it shouldn't be.
I don't know if we mentioned the claytalities, but that's the thing.
We did not mention claytalities.
It's only in Sculptor's Cut, though, right? Or is that in the original?
It's in the original.
It's in both, but there's a few more, or a couple different ones. My take on it is that they're boring and they're a waste. Like they don't do anything interesting. I don't know if you guys saw any.
I was having a hard time trying to get them to work.
They're so hard. They're so difficult. I've always sucked at stuff like that. I pulled off one. I pulled off one of Bad Mr.
Well,
Frosty's
the thing
by
is that like
accident.
fighting games back in like the 90s, early 2000s, they made it almost impossible to do fatalities and just like finishing moves like that anyway. They're so much easier to do nowadays.
Yeah, I thought that like if you there would be an option where you would press L and R together maybe and they would pull it off, or do back right, you know, left right B or something, and it would be a thing. I'm
curious if the game was a financial failure, because like they sold 60,000 copies prior to the Christmas of the year that they released it. But
that's
in
only
99, 2 years later, they claimed that they broke over 1 million copies sold.
What? That's wild.
That was their claim. I don't know if there's anything to back that up, but that was
I would.
I'll tell you what sold them the game. I'll tell you what sold them the game.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was one phrase. You ready for this?
Yes.
Let's get ready to crumble.
Definitely.
Possible, yeah.
It is pretty good. I see. That's another thing. That's another part of the parody that is actually.
I bet they had
pretty good.
a great trailer back in the day, and they popped Interplay on it a lot, and you know, got people to buy it.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Showed the PC gameplay or something, you know.
Yeah, like it's. Unfortunately, I would say like it's fun to sort of look up, maybe, you know, emulate a few rounds and stuff, but at the end of the day,
yeah, I mean it's definitely a decent game if you want to play it for free.
Yeah.
Right? But if you got to pay for it in any regard, I would probably not do that.
You can do better. I don't know if you can do worse. Honestly, it's not very good. I wish the execution.
I got my physical copy for free from my brother because he still had it, and then I was like, hey, you still have Clay Fighter? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I'll give you like $20 for it. And then he was like, no, you can have it for free. And I was like, heck yeah.
Well, you know what? I gotta say, like, having this EverDrive that I have and being able to play something like Sculptor's Cut, pretty much the only way that anyone's really gonna be able to play it, you know, at least on authentic hardware and stuff like that.
Yeah, unless you got like thousands, you know, burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. I mean, I do, but I just decided.
Sorry, the Jiggy Bank is closed.
So before we wrap up and stuff, guys, I guess Jiggy, for you, since your bank is closed now, overall, what's sort of like the final thoughts? What's sort of like the final elevator non-pitch for this game? What'd you think?
Play Fighters is a charming, funny, bland, mediocre fighter for the Nintendo 64. You'll find some laughs, but not much else. I give it a 4 out of 5, but I'm going to add half a point, give it a 4.5 because it has Earthworm Jim.
Wait, a 4 out of 5?
And that's out of 10, by the way. That's out of 10.
Okay. I was like, wait.
4.5 out of 10.
I was like, I'm kind of losing you here. Wait, what?
It's perfect.
You know what's funny is that's probably the highest rated score that it ever got.
No, Nintendo Power.
Well, what was that score though?
Nintendo
Power. It was like 90
I
out of
saw
100,
was
I swear.
It was
okay. Well, what I was seeing was like it didn't look like anything went past like a 3.8.
So they rated everything out of 5. This is before they had like a different system where they gave it like out of 100 or whatever.
Yeah, that was before that. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh
that
wait,
happened.
I thought I saw that somewhere. But okay, go.
So in issue 97 anyway, gameplay and sound was 4.2. No, graphics and sound was 4.2.
Okay, so they had the different things.
Yeah, control was 3.2. This is all out of 5. Challenge was 4, which I think is pretty spot on. And theme and fun was 3.8. So pretty high. I think those are all pretty high.
Yeah, that's a little high. That's a little too high.
That's somewhere in the 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 average.
Did they give an overall score?
They don't give overall. That's where they changed that after issue 100. So this is one of the last issues that didn't have that.
When they had to review Clay Fighter, they're like, we can't give overall scores. We have to rate it on.
We got to change the system.
The other other outlets like IGN and all that, like I don't think a single review went past 3.8 by any other outlet.
Yeah. So
it's pretty rough.
So what about you?
It's got heart, it's got charm, but
but plain.
What's your number?
Yeah, what's your number?
My number?
Yeah, is there a number? Does it exist?
Okay. It's got the heart, the charm, nothing else. Yeah, I don't know, man. I give it a crisp 2.
Ooh, damn.
I give it 2. Yeah.
So for me, I think the attempt at humor and doing a parody is cool and nice. I like the fact that I'm playing
for sure.
characters that I don't recognize in a way that's refreshing. I mean, I kind of recognize them from the SNES game that I played, but very little experience. I'm sure if I played it then, I would have enjoyed it more than I do now. I don't think that Sculptor's Cut is worth having another version of basically the same game that's not as good. And ultimately, the gameplay is clunky. It's messy. It doesn't really work. It's honestly frustrating if you play on a higher difficulty. And by higher, I mean just the baseline normal. Yeah.
Normal. Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point.
And all of that together, I'm not going to go as low as a 2, but I'm going to sit somewhere around a 3. I would say it is 3 blobs of crusty
he's up
Play-Doh.
here being generous.
3 blobs of crusty
I
Play-Doh.
mean, I gave it a
out of 10.
4.5. So
Yeah.
I know you. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you.
I feel like I've played worse games than this. I feel like at the end of the day, it was a fighter and it functioned.
That's
and
true.
Yeah, so
That's true.
I mean, I gave a little. I showed my bias. I said flat out, I gave it an extra half a point because I put it from Jim in there.
Which, yeah, I mean, I guess it deserves more for that. To be fair, I don't like number scales, so Yeah, I think it's a serviceable, okay fighter. But as someone who's played like a lot of fighting games, it's definitely the bottom of the barrel for sure.
Yeah, it's near the bottom for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, you know what, everybody? Like we said, give it a shot if you want. Don't go out of your way to really search for either of these. I think 63 1/3 is probably the better one. But if you have a chance, sure, you can. But is it worth it? That's another story.
Let me show you guys something real quick that shows my fighting game credibility, okay?
Uh-oh. Oh, snap.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you're listening,
got a Mortal Kombat tattoo.
Mortal Kombat tattoo on the shoulder. That's a nice logo,
hard to
man.
see.
He started pulling up his shirt and we were like concerned. But I thought he was going to flex the guns, but then...
Well, sort of. So he sort of did. Yeah, he sort of did.
Let me show you my fighting creds.
Yeah.
Check out these boys. All right, so... yeah, we'll
just like putty.
They're like
you can
putty.
mold it.
You can mold it.
Oh man, I can definitely be molded for sure. All right, so if you want to find more, Remember 64. Obviously, you can find us across social media. Remember 64 Show right across the board. Patreon as well. If you want to support the show for as little as $1 a month, you can get all episodes like this early. So happy holidays. You get a somewhat holiday episode. I don't know, something like that. Talk a little bit about Santa and Frosty. That's as good as it gets here. But anyways, happy holidays anyways, everybody, for listening. Of course, check out the show as well on YouTube. You can find a video version of this episode. You can find some gameplay videos. You'll also see me be really bad at this game if you're watching this version on YouTube as well. So that's always fun. Laugh at me. It's fine. I laugh at myself. I'm so bad. But other than that, Deadforge, thanks for coming on the show, man. Let's talk a little bit about your stuff.
I'd love to be back anytime that you want me, man.
Yeah, of course.
I'll be here.
Tell us a little bit about your
talking about Clay Fighter.
Yeah. Let's
Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter. It's actually they got like a choir going. Yeah, not bad, right? Deadforge, let's talk a little bit about your stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me at Deadforge on YouTube, right? And I got a podcast, The Gaming Bounty Board, which is on Spotify and YouTube. I do reviews, essays, a little bit of everything. So,
yeah, there we go. Amazing. So Deadforge, you can find it across the board, and the podcast again.
The Gaming Bounty Board. You'd look it up as the GBB podcast.
There we go. Amazing. Jiggy, you got some pretty big stuff in the pipe, man. How's it going?
Oh man, so many good stuff. So much
stuff.
So many good stuff. So much good. Yeah, including I think the next tomorrow. Well, never mind about dates. I'm saying I'm doing a live stream, and I'm gonna play through some mods to experience those for the first time on some 64 titles. which we talked about doing in the future, which is super excited. So it's getting in preparation for that, experiencing some of these.
Let's talk. Actually, I completely forgot to mention that. In 2024, Jiggy and I have a little bit of a plan. We don't have all the details worked out, but probably every couple of episodes or so, we're going to play mods, unreleased games, things like that we can emulate so that we can sort of have...
We're going to dissect them.
We're going to dissect them. We're going to compare it to the originals if it's a mod and play all these different types of mix of games. So it's not just the library. We'll still be working through regular games, but that's going to be sort of off the beaten path a little bit here and there. So look forward to that throughout the course of 2024. We'll tell people about more details as we come up with get closer to the dates and everything. Anyways, continue, sir.
That's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
I have a video coming out. I'm working on it right now. Dave came on my end, and we did a versus video in my versus series where I compare and contrast two games within a series or within a genre. And right now, it's gonna be a banger. It is Diddy Kong Racing versus Mario Kart 64, and we are gonna which one's the actual definitive kart racer on the 64? Spoiler alert, it's not Mickey Speedway USA.
That's a pretty interesting
follow
one.
that up. I got some other bangers in the work. I have a massive video that I just finished writing. It took me several days to write this. Okay, and normally I finish a script in a day. I am mapping out and connecting the entire Rare universe of games.
Whoa,
so it's going to be in my overthinking
wow.
series. This is probably going to be like a 20 to 30 minute video of me just nerding out about Rareware. We're talking Donkey Kong, Banjo.
It's gonna be an interesting one.
Jet Force Gemini, like it's going everywhere. It's gonna be
Man,
big.
speaking of that, I've been
just
playing a
feel
lot
it.
of Grab by the Ghoulies recently.
Grab by the Ghoulies is in there.
Nice.
It's awesome.
I'll be looking forward to it.
Dude, it's gonna be a big one. I'm really excited about that one. I'm actually
working on my, I guess, biggest video that I've ever done in like the kind of retrospective review kind of area. It's supposed to come out sometime later this month. So.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice. Well, lots of stuff down the pipe, everybody.
Oh yeah.
And you want to watch some and listen to some pretty fun, creative, nerdy stuff. You got the three of us, and I would say the other two in this podcast are probably a little bit more creative than I am. But hey, you know what? It's all good. It was fun to talk about these games, despite them not being very good.
Man, your podcast has got more production value than mine does. So.
Value is a very strong word.
Hey,
Clay Fighter!
Clay Fighter!
Clay Fighter! Oh yeah, Clay Fighter, man. That's
all right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Thanks for being on the show once again, and we will
thanks
see
for having me, man.
everybody soon. Goodbye. Thanks for joining us on Remember 64.